Democratic Party continues to show that it has no interest in learning from its mistakes or even hearing tiny bit of criticism, even from within its own ranks, because former Obama senior advisor David Axelrod spoke with Politico about how his concerns about Biden's vulnerabilities in the upcoming general election have been totally ignored by the Democratic establishment. From the Hill, Axelrod said in an interview with Politico that he finds it aggravating that people who air their concerns about the Biden campaign strategy are called bedwetters. And a lot of those concerns are rooted in Biden's lackluster performance in head-to-head polls against Donald Trump. An exclusive Wall Street Journal poll found that Trump would lead Biden by 4 percentage points, 47% to 43%, if only those two candidates were on the ballot, adding 5 possible third party and independent candidates to the mix. Trump leads Biden by 6%. But Democratic strategists claim it's too early and not without reason to be concerned about the polling. Specifically, former Obama campaign manager Jim Messina has said it's silly to be concerned about these polls, but David Axelrod disagrees. He said, I think that's deeply, deeply unhelpful because sometimes there's reason to be concerned. And there are a lot of really smart and committed supporters of Biden who have concerns. Continues on, what you need to do is contemplate what it is that is concerning people and decide what is legitimate and what needs to be done. There are people who are really, really committed to Joe Biden, who felt a sense of concern and urgency, particularly because Donald Trump is on the other side of this race. So I thought it was extraordinarily tone deaf and unhelpful. Now, David Axelrod has also expressed concerns about Biden's age and his ability to run a national campaign, as well as the changing message from 2020 and his inability to reach the voter base that helped him win the election with his messaging towards middle America. But those concerns are falling on deaf ears. Instead, White House spokespeople are likening Joe Biden's current position to that of FDR. According to USA Today, a source close to the Biden campaign told The Hill that unlike the 2012 campaign, we're coming off the strongest midterm performance of a president since FDR. White House aides often point out that Obama was in a difficult polling situation a year ahead of his reelection race and still won. Democrats, meanwhile, had stronger than expected midterm results in 2022, similar to when President Franklin D. Roosevelt picked up seats for the party in the 1934 midterm elections after guiding the US through the Great Depression. So, David, I'll start with you because I'm afraid. I don't want Trump to be president again. And I am afraid that the Democratic Party is refusing to acknowledge that this is not the same as Obama having some bad polling a year away from the election. He was running against Mitt Romney. Joe Biden is running against Donald Trump. You can't really compare those two elections, or you can take lessons from the one and apply it to the other, but they're not exactly similar situations, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that if you're running against somebody who tried to undermine democracy and has been charged with 91 felony counts, that you would have a cakewalk to beating them in a presidential election. But here we are, Joe Biden is trailing President Trump. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, you look at, there's a deep divide within the Democratic Party. Last summer, Barack Obama, former president, went to the White House, I think it was July or June, and said, hey, you should really consider leaving. You have done your job. You defeated Donald Trump in 2020. Joe, you can walk away a hero. Let another generation of Democrats come in and make sure that Donald Trump can't win in 2024. Well, Joe Biden has been very stubborn and likes being president and likes his power. And so no, he wants to stick around. Well, what you're seeing now with David Axelrod is another person who's firmly in the Obama camp saying, we've got some problems here. And he's echoing the concerns that his boss, President Obama, had. Jim Messina, who is also in the Obama camp, but is now extremely close to Joe Biden. So Messina is being loyal to Biden, saying, hey, it's too early, let's just wait. But the bottom line is this. If you look at how strong the economy is, and the economic numbers are great, and the growth on Wall Street and the stock exchange has been terrific, Joe Biden should be, any Democrat who has that sort of economic power behind them should be beating any generic Republican by literally by double digits. The fact that Joe Biden is not, that he's in a toss-up race or that he's slightly behind Donald Trump should be incredible cause for concern to Democrats, because economic stuff is going so well. The economy is the #1 issue for voters, but clearly that's not enough to propel Joe Biden. A lot of people, even Democrats, look up and they see a Joe Biden speech and they think, this guy's old. And no matter what he's doing policy-wise, people still want to know that the person in the White House represents them, that it's the person who's coming into their living room night after night with the speeches and the appearances. And a lot of people don't like what they see, even if they like the policies.
I don't think it's a mystery why he's underwater. Americans have eyes and ears. David Axelrod is not saying anything radical or crazy. He's just looking at the raw numbers. Joe Biden is underwater with young people. He won that demographic by 30 points. He's underwater with Latinos, Latinx, if you will. He won that demographic last go around. He's losing ground with black voters. Of course, he's got a sizable lead with black voters, but he's losing ground there. David Axelrod is just voicing an obvious opinion. And here's the main difference between 2012 and 2024. Barack Obama could go out and make the case for himself.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is hermetically sealed wherever the hell he's at. And like he can't go out and do this. He can't go out and stump for himself. He can't go out and basically put a shine on all the great policies he's passed for his constituents. They have to basically keep this guy away from a microphone, keep him away from a camera, and he looks ineffective and weak. He looks weak. I'm sorry. People see this guy talk, they see him show up. Quite frankly, they look at how he's handling that war in the Gaza Strip right now. He looks extremely weak. He doesn't look like he's leading that situation. He doesn't look like he's leading much of anything. So to compare Obama's polling from early 2012 to this dude who doesn't leave the house is absurd. We're talking about one of the most effective communicators. As much as we hate some of the stuff that he went out and did on our behalf, but you cannot take away the fact that he's one of the most effective communicators American politics has ever seen. And Joe Biden, who looks like a corpse half the time. Like, what are we doing here with this?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I just want to remind people that this time 4 years ago, we had, Joe Biden meandering around the Iowa State Fair or whatever Iowa event was going on, calling people fat and challenging them to push-up contests. That's where he was 4 years ago. And then he got really lucky. He was in a unique position. A pandemic hit. And he didn't have to do a national campaign where he was speaking in front of large crowds all across the country. And that benefited him greatly. And the campaign staff now and the Democratic Party, the National Party, seems to refuse to acknowledge that it was that unique set of circumstances that helped Joe Biden win, and that you cannot repeat those same circumstances this year, especially when your administration has said COVID is over and people just need to take care of themselves. When Joe Biden doesn't have any rallies or he's not capable of speaking in front of a group of people, you can't use the COVID defense. People are gonna ask questions, and if you can't present this candidate who's able to discuss his accomplishments in the economy, talk about what he's done for labor, then that's a problem. And I'll let you guys get the last word in on this, David, first.
Just look at the guy. Just look at him, Ray. Like, I'm sorry, Donald Trump, as terrible, as awful as he is, you cannot say that he is not more obviously has more vitality and vigor and pep in his step. Yeah. Like, he's going out and he's trying to win for himself. We can, obviously, it's awful if he wins again. His cause is awful. Obviously, none of us on this call believe in, the cause of the Donald Trump campaign. But an objective observer can look at the two candidates for president and be like, one guy is going for it and another guy is hiding. Another guy is sending his spokespeople out to go out and say, South Africa is doing some trumped up trials in the UN. Right? Like, Joe Biden can't even come out and defend his own stuff. This is ridiculous. People can see this stuff.
Yeah.
I think people are also seeing what happens when you have a certain number of Democrats who get into a White House, into a presidential administration. They don't want to be the ones to say, oh, well, okay, if we have another Democrat come in, then I'm going to lose my job as a cabinet secretary or a deputy cabinet secretary or White House press secretary or a senior advisor to the president. They love those jobs. It's addictive. There's an adrenaline rush when you go into the White House each day, and you don't want to give that up. And so I think what happens is a lot of Democrats who are working for Joe Biden, they may know intellectually, maybe even emotionally, that, yeah, Joe Biden is trouble, and this is going to be a tight election if he is the nominee. But they don't want to bring that up because they care more about their own power. They care more about the time of the life that they're having as serving in the White House. And if there's another Democrat, if it's a Gavin Newsom, whoever it is, there'll be a different crew that'll take most of these jobs. And so as a result, there's nobody who's really close to Joe Biden who's willing to say, hey, we're in danger here of losing this to Donald Trump. I think you should step away, because not only would that person be disloyal, that person would essentially be cutting their own throat in terms of their career. And they're not about to do that when you have a cushy job at the White House.
Absolutely.
And Ray, one last thing we got to say, we have to mention this. 2016 is a thing that happened. When they ran that hyper unpopular candidate, they stuck their freaking heads in the sand and pretended that everything was okay. And she lost, she got whooped, okay? The last time they did this, there was a terrible outcome. So this idea that we're just supposed to do this, oh, the bad news, if we do this, it's not coming in. We don't have to acknowledge reality, nana nana boo boo. It's not gonna work, guys. We've done this already.
Yeah, 100%. And they can't say that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to America and then run the most lackluster candidate and lackluster campaign that they possibly can.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.